pop culturalist, the Workprint, and
Nerd
Files.
Sorry.
Does anybody even know what a Workprint is anymore?
No, you're probably right.
We thought hard about that, yeah.
It's old school.
Absolutely, yeah. So we saw how exciting and dark the second season can be. Could you guys tease a little bit more about what the other realm coming into the real world is going to hold for our characters and what kind of challenges they're facing?
I think the major challenge is Holden has had to work so hard to keep these two worlds separate, and with this one crashing into, his home life, suddenly you have a lot of people who didn't sign up for this, they didn't go into the realm, they don't have any sort of abilities, and yet they're in just as much danger as Holden. I think he's going to have to, fight extra hard to protect his family, protect the people he loves, the people closest to him, all while trying to keep this a secret from him. So it's going to be a challenge.
So one of the moments that stands out in season 1 is when Willow writes on Holden's arms and says, like, trust no one. Is that still the case going into season 2?
Well, I think one of the dilemmas for Willa is that Holden is going to start trusting other people, and she has to decide how she deals with that. And in deciding how she deals with that, she has some conversations with Luke.
I know, that didn't give us... so what can you tease about? Because I was in the panel and I saw some of the clips and it definitely looks a lot darker, almost like spookier, scarier. What can you talk about, like, the show getting darker and if there are any characters that we can look out for that you'll be announcing, that we'll be seeing some new characters?
Yeah, I think it's, in terms of the show getting darker, it is darker. I mean, I think we had that mindset of, season 2 usually tends to be kind of, you up the stakes. But at the same time, it's also a lot funnier. So it isn't doom and gloom. It's got a lot of levity, and it's very sharp. So there is that balance. That balance is achieved by introducing characters like Edgar, who we saw in the opening 3 minutes. We meet him again in present day, and he has a very tragic backstory, much like Holden, very similar to Holden. But he's also a really fun character to watch. So as the season goes on, we'll learn more about him, and also just how similar he is to Holden.
Are we going to see Holden step up into a leadership role now that there are others like him?
Yeah, I think Holden will have to grapple with what leadership means and what does that look like, and how can I best keep everyone else around me safe.
What can you touch on the love triangle within the show and how we're going to see that move forward?
Well, he's very young, I mean, and emotionally, he's very young. When a little kid first, decides he likes a girl and then he sees another girl that he likes, he doesn't know that he's supposed to pick one or the other. And so on some level, we're sort of exploring it, obviously as an adult, what does a man do when he's faced with the first opportunity to have these feelings, and it doesn't limit itself to just one person, it's more than one person. So it's sort of it's almost kind of a regression. It's looking at it from, a kind of philosophical level. What are those choices about? And not really playing it as a, like an episode of Dynasty where, one is again kill the other and that kind of stuff.
And part of it really helps remind the audience of the basic premise that he had a missing 12 years of his life. At a key time in his life when he would have learned how to navigate those kinds of relationships. But now he's a man, and and he's still sort of treating it like you would in 7th and 8th grade. And so this is a way to remind the audience that that's still a part of this character's, sort of makeup.
And that's also true for Willa too. Is we learn a little bit more about her upbringing and her backstory, and you'll find out someone who also didn't have a very typical childhood. So she's also searching for something, and she's also prone to making the same mistakes as Holden.
Will we see sort of a change in Holden's relationship with his parents this season? In the clip we see that he starts to shut up, and is there a little bit more of a let go, especially for his mom?
Well, yeah, because we had to decide, how important parents are in the superhero story. Normally, they're not involved. The audience isn't interested in them. So we made a decision not to distance them, but to include them more in the season. And we thought a good way to do that would be to have Holden's mother start having sex with a clergyman. And that seemed to kind of light a fire under everybody. Yeah, that opened up the floodgates.
I know you said during the panel that you don't know right now if it's going to be one of those binge from the start again. Do you have a preference on whether or not that's something you want to see Freeform do, or if you wanted to roll out more traditionally week by week?
I don't have a preference myself. I think whatever. I'm glad that there's a choice. So I know there are people with strong preferences. Definitely, our show lends itself to both. I think we always try. It's split up over 10 episodes, but really we look at it as just one continuous story. So every episode does really set up the next one. And it just depends on how long you're willing to wait for that next episode.
I think, with the way that people watch shows nowadays, the sort of best way to hedge your bet on these things is to make them as though they're going to be binged. Because the truth is, a lot of people are going to discover the show when it's not on the air. They're going to discover it in the summertime or, over Christmas break or whatever. And they're going to watch, that's how they're going to watch it, and then they're going to want to watch the next season. And maybe they'll watch the next season in the normal way, week to week. But so it's nice to be able to have a show that really works on both. And what we're hoping is we had a very large audience from the first season. That audience is going to be bigger now because of the ability to watch this show, to binge this show right now if you wanted to. And you can binge the whole first season and get caught up and then start the second season. So that's what's fun about it.
Sorry, I just wanted to add on to that. Do you think narratively that changes how you think about the story as it plays out? You don't have to add as much reminders for the characters and things like that.
Yeah, you used to have to rely on the sort of previously on kind of model. And now,
a lot of exposition.
Yeah, a lot of exposition where people sort of spend the first 5 minutes of the show explaining things that might have been question marks from the last episode. You don't have to do that anymore. So
you're constantly moving forward, and that just helps. It just helps keep the story moving along. So.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, you guys.